everyone, Amanda Williams, MD, MPH, here with you today. I want to talk about the heat. This is just crazy, the heat throughout this country right now. They said last month was the hottest temperatures on record ever. I mean, look at places like Vancouver and places where it should not be as hot as it is, and it is. But I don't want to talk about the weather. I want to talk about hydration, because when it is hot like this, a lot of folks are not prepared. I'm down here in Florida, so we know that it's hot most of the year. So most people in Florida do a pretty good job when it comes to staying hydrated. And this is a problem that we see in places throughout the Northeast and the Midwest when it gets really, really hot and muggy. People are like, oh, wow, it's finally warm. We're not dealing with snow and ice, but yet it's really hot. And maybe you don't have air conditioning in your house. I mean, there's a lot of people who that's just not something that you have. And so you're trying to combat ways to stay cool or to stave off the heat and actually stay cool. So one of the things that we always like to focus in on is staying hydrated, especially even if you're just doing basic tasks around the house. You may start to lose more fluids than is really recommended or healthy. So if you're not being conscientious on continuing to drink fluids throughout the day, at the end of the day, sometimes you feel a little bit achy. I've talked about this before with the beets HX and the Tart Cherry extract. And this is why those are so beneficial. But sometimes you even maybe feel like you're really tired. Maybe you've come up with a headache. I mean, these are all signs of like mild to moderate dehydration. So during the times when it's really, really hot, when your temperatures are hitting, high 80s, 90s in places throughout the country where maybe it's supposed to be in the low 80s, this can really take a lot out of you. So I wanted to focus in on hydration and healing, because there's also been a lot of science out in this last week talking about air pollution. So when we have hot, sticky air, certainly we may have higher amounts of particles that are just kind of lingering about us. And of course, you don't see these. It's not like you walk outside and say, this looks really polluted today. We usually don't see or smell the pollution. So why do we want to talk about this? Because there was a study that just came out this week looking at the impact of air pollution on academic performance. So they were actually assessing a group of young school-age children and looking at their level of exposure to the PAHs, so all of the hydrocarbons that are in the air. And they found that the kids that had the highest levels of this exposure from air pollution actually did worse academically. So this is kind of an interesting thing, because you think about how that's actually affecting your brain. So you walk outside, you're breathing this in, it's hot, it's humid, you're losing fluids, and it's like, your poor liver's like, what do I do? So what is a solution to this? And we've seen these studies with air pollution and cognitive function, and air pollution and the ability to focus. Certainly we can look at the problems that can exist with heavy metal exposure and how that impacts our cognitive abilities and just our overall energy. Because think about this, when we are taking in all of these bad things from our environment, including the foods that maybe you are eating. So if your foods are peppered with pesticides, not a good idea. So we think about this, and our liver's like, every day, gotta do my work, gotta filter, gotta clean, gotta filter, gotta clean. Eventually, we start to get clogged up. So we have to make sure that we're taking care of our little tiny hepatocytes. So I thought I would talk about, hold on, let me hold this the right way. The greens HX. This particular product is so amazing because it is a blend of fruit and vegetable extracts. So if you are not getting enough fruits and vegetables in your diet every single day, greens. So this also has probiotics in it, so we're helping to support the immune system. It has wonderful enzymatic blends in this, but most importantly, we want to look at those polyphenols and those powerful antioxidants that are going to support your little liver. So all of the things like chlorella and spirulina and all of those fruit and vegetables, those berry extracts that we know pack a powerful punch, are all contained. So you do 1 scoop of the greens. Why is this important? Because it's a powder, which means we're not just taking the straight powder, you're mixing it with a fluid. Now, here's a little tip for you. Since it's the summer, maybe you want a nice, cool, refreshing drink, and maybe you're like, I just don't feel like the taste of greens right now, go to the store and get yourself some organic tart cherry extract. Because remember what the tart cherry is doing. This is why the Beets HX is so important, because the Beets HX has tart cherry extract, and we know that that's been studied in the setting as being like an anti-inflammatory to target pain or discomfort within our muscles. So we take our Greens HX, we go to the store, we get ourselves some organic tart cherry. Voila! Now we've got this really tasty drink packed with all of these powerful antioxidants, these polyphenols. We're helping to hydrate our body, so from any of the fluid loss because of the heat, but we're also supporting our liver to be able to get rid of all of that schmuck that we build up throughout the day from just the air that we're breathing and the foods that we're eating. So we want to be able to support those tiny little hepatocytes. So this is why I was actually kind of excited when I thought about this today. I was like, oh yes, the Greens HX along with the tart cherry extract. But you want to make sure that you're using a clean, organic, 100% tart cherry. So it's not something that's going to be sweet. It's not like you go to the store and you get tart cherry juice and you're like, oh wow, this is, super sweet and tasty. No, it's tart, and that's what you want. When you're using those Montmorency tart cherries, they are very, very bitter, but they're bitter for a reason, because that's those powerful polyphenols. So if we mix some tart cherry extract in with our greens, we are getting this mega amount of these wonderful, wonderful nutrients. You can even use pomegranate juice if you wanted to. I always avoid anything like orange juice, apple juice, because to me they're not really real juices, they're just sugar water. But if you want to use pomegranate juice or tart cherry, I would lean towards the tart cherry since we're talking about muscle recovery. So this is just a really good way for you to replenish your electrolytes, support those vitamins and minerals, support the immune system, because yes, you are getting probiotic when you are using the Greens HX. So it's very, very comprehensive and a wonderful way to hydrate your body during the summer heat. Now, I will be back with you in a few more days to talk about more wonderful nutrients available at InVite Health. Thank you.